Chapter 1. On our third wedding anniversary, Miranda kissed her assistant, Philip, right there on the stage at the company's annual meeting. The applause from the audience was thunderous. The host even laughed and joked, "Looks like the marketing manager has found true love." I sat among the crowd, a champagne glass in my hand, smiling and clapping along with everyone else. Then Miranda saw me. The color drained from her face instantly. She hurriedly pushed Philip away, her movements stiff and panicked. If this had happened before, if this were the old me, I would have stormed onto the stage, ripped apart her carefully constructed façade, and let every colleague in the room witness the joke she turned our marriage into. But this time, my heart was as calm as still water. After the meeting ended, Miranda chased me all the way to the parking lot. She was flustered, her heels uneven against the pavement. "Henry, listen to me," she said breathlessly. "I had too much to drink just now. I opened the car door and got in. Get in. We'll talk at home." She froze for a second, then cautiously took the passenger seat. The entire drive home passed in silence. Once inside, I went straight to the kitchen and poured some milk into a saucepan to warm it up. Miranda hovered at the doorway, hesitating, her fingers twisting together. "Don't you want to ask me about it?" she finally said, her voice tentative. I turned around calmly. "Ask about what?" "About what happened on stage." "Oh," I replied flatly. "Congratulations to both of you." Her expression shifted again and again. Finally, biting her lip, she said, "Henry, I was just confused for a moment." "Philip, what happened to him?" I asked. "He said he was going to quit, and I couldn't bear it." I set the cup down and looked straight at her. "So you're trying to keep him by doing this?" "No," she denied quickly. "We didn't do anything. There's nothing between us." I nodded. "Good. If there's nothing going on, then that's fine." I picked up the warm milk and walked toward the study. Behind me, Miranda began to sob. In the past, I couldn't stand the sight of her tears. The moment her eyes reddened, my heart would ache so badly it felt like it was being squeezed. I would have given her the entire world just to stop her from crying. But now, her tears looked no different from a crocodile's performance. That night, Miranda tiptoed into the study. "Honey, I was wrong. Please forgive me." She knelt beside my chair, tears falling steadily onto the floor. This used to work on me. I would soften immediately, pull her into my arms, and tell her everything was okay. But this time, I only glanced at her and continued signing documents. "Miranda, get up. The floor is cold." A spark of hope flashed through her eyes. "Does that mean you forgive me?" "No," I said without looking up. "I'm just reminding you to take care of your health." She froze, remaining there for a long time without moving. After I signed the last contract, I stood and walked toward the bedroom. As I passed her, I paused for a moment. "Oh, by the way," I said, "starting tomorrow, you'll sleep in the guest room." "Why?" she asked in panic. "I have a cleanliness obsession." The words landed like a slap across her face. Her cheeks flushed bright red, but I had already entered the bedroom and shut the door behind me. Through the door, I could hear her crying louder and louder. In the past, I would have opened the door, unable to bear it, and comforted her. Now it just sounded noisy. I put on my headphones and went back to work. Chapter 2. The next morning, when I arrived at the company, Miranda was already waiting outside my office. She wore delicate makeup and the dress I had once praised. She held breakfast in her hands. "Honey, I bought you milk and bread." I took the bag, said thank you, and threw it straight into the trash. "Henry." She couldn't help raising her voice. I glanced at her. "Mind the occasion, Manager Miranda." Her face shifted between pale and flushed. In the end, she clenched her teeth and returned to her office. During the morning meeting, I sat in the main seat. Miranda and Philip sat across from me. Philip wore a new suit that day, his hair neatly styled. He looked young and handsome. From time to time, he stole glances at Miranda, his eyes filled with admiration. Miranda, on the other hand, kept looking at me, searching for even the slightest hint of concern on my face. Unfortunately for her, I remained expressionless throughout. Halfway through the meeting, Philip's phone rang. It was a Pikachu ringtone, He blushed, hurriedly hung up, and muttered, "Sorry." I said calmly, "Assistant Philip, please keep your phone on silent during meetings." "Yes, President Koo." Miranda immediately spoke up. "He's only been here a short time. He's not fully familiar with the rules yet." I looked at her. "Manager Miranda, as his direct supervisor, you should train him better in professional etiquette." "Yes, I will." After the meeting, I asked Miranda to stay behind. "I don't want to hear any more rumors about you and Philip in the company." A trace of panic flashed across her eyes. "Henry, I really didn't." "Whether you did or not isn't important," I interrupted. "What matters is that it doesn't affect the company's reputation." "Do you still care about me?" she asked cautiously. I was silent for a few seconds. "Miranda, we are both married and colleagues. Please know your place." With that, I left the meeting room. In the afternoon, Mason came to see me. "What's wrong?" "You look awful," he said with concern. I briefly told him what happened the night before. After listening, Mason slammed his hand on the table. "Damn it. That bitch, Miranda." "Calm down." I poured him a cup of tea. "It's already over." "Over? And you're just letting it go like this?" "What else can I do?" I asked. Mason stared at me for a long time without speaking. "Henry, you've changed." "Yeah," I admitted. "I've changed. The old me would have given up everything for Miranda. Now you're more rational," Mason finished with a sigh. "Good. She isn't worth it." Just then, the secretary knocked and entered. "President Koo, Manager Miranda wants to see you." "Let her in." When Miranda walked in and saw Mason, her expression turned awkward. "Mason is here too." Mason didn't respond, his face cold. "Henry, I have some work to report," Miranda said. "Go ahead." Could Mason step out for a moment? I glanced at Mason. He stood up thoughtfully. "I'll head out. We'll talk later." Once he left, Miranda rushed toward me immediately. "Honey, do you still love me?" I pushed her away. "Manager Miranda, please mind your behavior." "Henry," she panicked. "We can talk however we want at home, but you can't treat me like this at the company." "Why not?" "Because I'm your wife." I nodded. "Yes, you are my wife. So when you kissed another man in front of the entire company last night, did you ever think about how I would feel?" She was left speechless. "Miranda," I said, standing up, "since you chose to have an affair at the company, you must bear the consequences." "What consequences?" "Starting tomorrow, Philip will be transferred to another department." "No," she rushed to stop me. "He's my assistant. He's very capable." "That's even better," I replied calmly. "A capable employee deserves a better platform." Her face turned pale. "Henry, you can't do this. I'm the vice president. This is my decision." I grabbed my coat and turned to leave. "Where are you going?" she asked. "On a business trip. A week." In truth, there was no trip. I just didn't want to see her. Chapter 3. I stayed at the hotel for 3 days. Every day, Miranda sent messages and called, starting with apologies, then threats, and finally desperate pleas. I ignored all of them. On the 4th day, Mason came to see me. "Hiding like this isn't a solution." "I'm not hiding." "Then go home." I shook my head. "I don't want to." "Why?" "Just the sight of her disgusts me." Mason paused, then said, "Henry, why don't you get a divorce?" Divorce. I tasted the word seriously for the first time. Yes. A woman like her isn't worth wasting your life on. I fell into deep thought. Divorce. That idea had actually taken root in my heart a long time ago, ever since I first discovered the flirtatious messages between Miranda and Philip. From that moment, I knew the marriage was already over. "I'll think about it." That evening, Miranda sent me a long message. "Honey, I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Philip has already been transferred, and I'll never see him again. Please come back. I'm so scared being alone at home." I read it, deleted it, and blocked her number. On the 5th day, the company's secretary called. "President Koo, Manager Miranda has been crying in your office all day. She fainted. Should we take her to the hospital?" "Take her," I said calmly. "Do you want to come check on her?" "No. I'm out of town." After hanging up, I continued reading the financial report in my hands. Miranda's life or death had nothing to do with me. On the 6th day, I returned to the company. President Koo, the secretary reported. Manager Miranda took sick leave today. Got it. I worked as usual, as if nothing had happened. In the afternoon, HR came to see me. President Koo, there's something to report. Go ahead. Philip submitted his resignation. I read the letter. Personal reasons. Unable to continue working at the company. Approve it. And his replacement? Public recruitment. After HR left, an unfamiliar number called. Is this President Koo? This is Philip. What is it? I want to talk to you about Miranda. I almost laughed. What's there to talk about? President Koo, Miranda really loves you. Yesterday, she almost died for you. Oh, I said calmly. So, don't you care? Why should I? Philip fell silent. Mr. Philip, I continued, you're no longer an employee here. Please stop involving yourself in my marriage. But I hung up. Young people are always like this, thinking they're the male lead in a romance drama. That evening, when I got home, Miranda was busy in the kitchen. When she saw me, she ran over in surprise. Honey, you're back. I changed my shoes and asked, what are you cooking? Sweet and sour ribs, she said quickly, and tomato egg drop soup. The ones you like. She carefully studied my expression. You're not angry anymore? Not angry. Really? A flicker of hope lit up her eyes. Really? I nodded. Miranda, let's talk. She immediately turned off the stove and sat across from me, her movements stiff with nervousness. Henry, what do you want to say? I reached into my briefcase, took out a document, and placed it on the table in front of her. The divorce agreement. Chapter 4. Miranda stared at the document on the table. Her face slowly turned deathly pale. Henry, you're joking, right? I'm not joking, I said calmly. I've thought it through. Why? Her voice began to tremble. Is it just because of what happened at the annual meeting? I already told you, I was drunk. It's not just that. I took out my phone and opened a folder. These are all the chat records between you and Philip, starting from 6 months ago. Her face drained of all color. You went through my phone? I didn't snoop, I replied evenly. You just forgot to log out of your cloud sync. Trembling, Miranda reached out to grab my phone, but I easily dodged her. These messages are enough to prove your relationship, I continued. Late-night chats, exchanging photos, calling each other by those disgusting nicknames. Henry, let me explain. There's no need to explain, I interrupted. I don't care when it started. I just want this marriage to end. Suddenly, Miranda dropped to her knees in front of me. Honey, I was wrong. I really was wrong. Get up. I won't. She clutched my leg tightly. Henry, I can't live without you. I'll die without you. I looked down at her, but my heart didn't stir at all. In the past, I couldn't bear to see her in such a low position. As long as she showed even the slightest weakness, I would be overwhelmed with sympathy. Now it all felt fake. Miranda, you won't die, I said calmly. You still have Philip. I have nothing with Philip, she denied frantically. We're just colleagues. I pulled out my phone and showed her a photo. It was a picture of the two of them hugging outside a hotel, dated 1 month ago. Is this what you call a colleague relationship? The moment Miranda saw the photo, all hope left her eyes. Henry. She released my leg and collapsed onto the floor. When did you start doubting me? She asked weakly. The first time I saw you send him, I miss you, in the middle of the night. Then why didn't you question me? Would it have mattered? I shot back. Would you have admitted it? She fell silent. Miranda, I said, standing up, I'll give you 3 days. After 3 days, whether you sign or not, I'll file for divorce. I grabbed my coat and turned to leave. Where are you going? She asked urgently. The hotel. Henry Koo. She tried to stand and chase after me, but her legs gave out and she collapsed again. You can't treat me like this. Why can't I? Because I love you. I stopped. I turned around and looked at her. Love me? Yes. I love you. Then why did you cheat? I was just confused for a moment. I shook my head. Miranda, if you truly love someone, you wouldn't cheat. You just couldn't bear to lose me as your backup. No, she screamed, her voice breaking. Henry, I really love you. If you really loved me, I said coldly, You'd sign the divorce papers and stop wasting both of our time. With that, I left without looking back. Behind me, Miranda cried hysterically. I didn't listen. That night at the hotel, I slept better than I had in years. The house without Miranda was quiet. Quiet like heaven. Chapter 5. Early the next morning, Mason called me. Henry, Miranda went to my company and caused a scene. What kind of scene? She said you want a divorce and asked me to convince you to change your mind. I rubbed my temples. What did you say? I told her I support your decision. Then she started cursing at me, saying I was trying to destroy your marriage. Sorry for dragging you into this. It's fine, Mason said. But Henry, have you really thought this through? I have. Then don't waver. After hanging up, I finished getting ready and headed out. The moment I stepped into the hotel lobby, I saw Miranda sitting there. She clearly hadn't slept all night. Her eyes were swollen and bloodshot, her hair messy and unkempt. When she saw me, she stood up immediately. Henry. I pretended not to see her and walked straight out. She chased after me. Henry, wait. I got into the car. She ran up and began banging on the window. Henry opened the door. I started the engine and slowly drove away. In the rearview mirror, I saw her stumble forward a few steps before stopping. She squatted by the roadside and cried uncontrollably. When I arrived at the company, the secretary reported, President Koo, Manager Miranda, has taken sick leave. Got it. During the morning meeting, the head of marketing presented in Miranda's place. Halfway through the meeting, the door suddenly burst open. Miranda rushed in. She was still wearing yesterday's clothes. Her hair was disheveled, her face pale as paper. President Koo, she walked straight toward me. I have important work to report. The entire meeting room fell silent. Manager Miranda, I said calmly, you're on sick leave. You shouldn't be here. I'm not sick, she shouted. I want to work. Manager Miranda, please calm down. I am calm. Suddenly, she dropped to her knees. President Koo, please don't abandon me. Gasps filled the room. I stared at her expressionlessly. Manager Miranda, this is a company meeting. Please be mindful of the occasion. I don't care about the occasion, she cried. Henry, I can't live without you. I pressed the intercom. Security, please come upstairs. Henry, she panicked. You can't do this to me. Security arrived quickly. I gestured toward Miranda. Please escort Manager Miranda out. Yes, President Koo. The guards tried to help her up, but she struggled wildly. Don't touch me. Henry Koo, you can't do this. In the end, she was forcibly escorted out. I continued hosting the meeting as if nothing had happened. Still, I could feel everyone's eyes secretly watching me. After the meeting, the vice president approached. Henry, this can't continue. I know. The company's image matters. I'll handle it. That afternoon, HR came to report. President Koo, Manager Miranda, has been suspended by the board. Reason. She severely affected the company's image. I nodded. This outcome was inevitable. Her behavior today had completely violated company regulations. That evening, I was in my hotel room reviewing documents when the doorbell rang. I opened the door. It was Philip. President Koo, may I come in and talk? I stepped aside. Please. He sat down and went straight to the point. I want to talk about Miranda. Still about her? Yes. He nodded. Miranda tried to commit suicide today. She cut her wrists. The pen in my hand froze. What? Her neighbors found her in time. She's in the hospital undergoing emergency treatment. I was silent for a few seconds. Why are you telling me this? Because she kept calling your name. Oh. Philip stared at me in disbelief. President Koo, aren't you worried at all? Why should I be? She's your wife. Not for much longer. Philip stood up angrily. How can you be so cold-hearted? I looked at him calmly. Mr. Philip, you should understand better than anyone why she tried to kill herself. What do you mean? If she hadn't cheated, things wouldn't have ended like this. Philip couldn't respond. And, I continued, the reason she tried to kill herself wasn't love. It was because she lost me as her backup. You're heartless. Heartless. I laughed softly. When she was cheating behind my back, did she ever think about how I'd feel? Philip lowered his head, unable to look at me. Now that she's in despair, you come here accusing me. How ridiculous. Philip slammed the door on his way out. I went back to my documents, my mood unchanged. Miranda's life or death truly had nothing to do with me. Chapter 6. The next day, I went to work as usual. As soon as I arrived, the secretary reported, "President Koo, the hospital called. Manager Miranda wants to see you. Tell them I'm very busy." But, no buts. At noon, Mason came to have lunch with me. I heard Miranda tried to kill herself. Yes. Aren't you going to see her? No. Mason sighed deeply. Henry, you've really changed. For better or worse. You've become more rational. While we were eating, my phone rang. An unfamiliar number. Is this President Koo? This is Miranda's mother. I paused briefly. Hello, Auntie. Henry, Miranda is in the hospital. Can you come see her? I'm sorry. I'm working. Is work more important than my daughter? Her tone carried reproach. Auntie, I replied calmly, Miranda isn't my daughter. She's my wife, or rather my ex-wife. Ex-wife? You're not divorced yet. We will be soon. Henry. She raised her voice. Miranda almost died for you. And you don't feel even bit guilty? I don't feel guilty. I don't, I answered directly. Miranda's mother fell into stunned silence at my indifference. Auntie, I continued calmly, if you truly care about Miranda, you should advise her to sign the divorce papers so we can all move on. Henry, how can you say something like that? How can I say what? Miranda loves you so much. Loves me. I interrupted. Auntie, do you know about Miranda's affair? Miranda's mother went quiet. It seems you do, I continued. Since you're aware of it, don't try to use love to morally blackmail me. But, Auntie, there is no but. Your daughter made a mistake, and she needs to face the consequences. With that, I hung up the phone. Mason stared at me in shock. Henry, you didn't give Miranda's mom any face at all. Why should I? I replied. She's still your mother-in-law, he said. Not for long. Mason shook his head. I don't even recognize you anymore. So what do you think of me now? I asked. You're fine, he said after a moment's thought. At least you won't cry over a woman anymore. That afternoon, while I was in a meeting, the secretary knocked and entered. President Koo, a lawyer is here to see you. Let her in. The person who walked in was a young female lawyer. She was beautiful, composed, and carried herself with confidence. Hello, President Koo. My name is Tiffany. I'm Miranda's attorney. Please have a seat. She sat down and took a document from her bag. This is my client's statement. I took it and glanced through it. She doesn't agree to the divorce. That's correct, Tiffany said. She hopes to salvage the marriage. That's impossible. Tiffany looked at me. President Koo, are you truly unwilling to give her another chance? Another chance? I asked calmly. After betrayal, she still deserves one. Everyone makes mistakes. Mistakes have consequences, I interrupted. Lawyer Sue, are you here to mediate or to lecture me on morality? She paused. I apologize. That was inappropriate. If Miranda truly refuses to agree to the divorce, I said evenly, then we'll proceed through legal channels. I have sufficient evidence to prove her wrongdoing. What evidence? I took out my phone and showed her the chat records. Tiffany Sue read several messages, and her expression changed. Are these real? Absolutely. She closed the phone and sat quietly for a moment. President Koo, she said finally, I believe I need to discuss this further with my client. As you wish. She stood up to leave, but suddenly turned back at the door. President Koo, personally, I think your decision is the right one. I was slightly surprised. Why do you say that? Betrayal is betrayal, she said. There are no excuses. With that, she left. That lawyer was quite interesting. That night, while I was watching TV in my hotel room, a breaking news segment appeared. A marketing department manager from a certain corporation attempted suicide due to an emotional dispute and is currently receiving treatment in the hospital. They didn't name anyone, but I knew it was Miranda. It seemed the news had already spread. I turned off the TV and prepared for bed. Tomorrow would be a new day. Chapter 7. On the third morning, Tiffany called. President Koo, Miranda has agreed to the divorce settlement. Good. But she has one condition. What condition? She hopes you can visit her at the hospital one last time. I thought for a moment. All right. When? Can you come this afternoon? I can. That afternoon, I arrived at the hospital. Miranda lay in the hospital bed. Her wrist was bandaged, her face pale as paper. When she saw me, a flicker of surprise crossed her eyes. Henry, you came. I sat beside the bed. What do you want to say? Her voice caught. Henry, I really know I was wrong. I know. Then can you forgive me? No. The light in her eyes instantly dimmed. Why? Because forgiving you means nothing to me. What do you mean? Miranda, you didn't cheat because I was bad, I said calmly. You cheated because that's who you are. Even if I forgave you, you'd do it again. I won't, she cried desperately. I swear I'll never do again. Swears are worthless. She burst into tears. Henry, why are you so heartless? I'm not heartless, I said. I'm awake. So our 3 years together, are they just gone like that? 3 years. I sneered. Miranda, was there ever a single day in those 3 years when you truly cared about me? She froze. From the beginning, you were with me because I had money, I continued. Then you married me to secure your position in the company. No. Then what about Philip? I asked. Why did you like him? She stayed silent. Because he's young, handsome, and feeds your vanity, I answered for her. Miranda, you never truly loved me. You only loved what I could give you. Henry, now that I'm leaving, you panic, I went on. So you use suicide to threaten me. But sorry, I'm not buying it. Miranda cried uncontrollably. Henry, please don't leave me. Why shouldn't I leave you? Because I can't live without you. Then why didn't you think about that when you cheated? She sobbed, unable to speak. I stood up. Miranda, the divorce agreement has already been brought by my lawyer. Please sign it. I won't sign. Then we'll see each other in court. I turned to leave, but she suddenly called out. Henry, yes. If I sign, will you come see me sometimes? I shook my head. No. Then will you miss me? No. She collapsed back onto the bed, completely broken. I walked out of the room. Tiffany was waiting outside. President Koo, you're very resolute, she said. She's pitiful. Pitiful. I stopped. Lawyer Sue, who do you think is pitiful, her or me? You. I was betrayed, deceived, and hurt, I said calmly. And now I'm supposed to sympathize with the person who hurt me? Tiffany had no answer. Lawyer Sue, if you were in my position, I asked, what would you do? I would also choose to divorce. Exactly. That evening, Tiffany called. President Koo, Miranda has signed. Good. When should we proceed with the divorce formalities? The sooner the better. How about tomorrow morning? That's fine. After hanging up, I let out a long breath. Finally, this painful marriage was coming to an end. Chapter 8. The next morning, Miranda and I went to the Civil Affairs Bureau to finalize the divorce. She sat in a wheelchair, her face pale, her eyes hollow. Throughout the entire process, she didn't say a single word. When the staff handed us the divorce certificate, she suddenly began to cry. Henry, her voice trembled. Is it really over? It's over. I put the certificate away. Miranda, you're free now. I don't want to be free. But I do. With that, I walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau without looking back. The sunlight outside was bright. I took a deep breath. Freedom felt incredibly good. Tiffany drove me back to the company. President Koo, she asked, how are you feeling now? Good. Not sad at all. Why should I be? After all, it was 3 years. Lawyer Sue, I said, looking at her. Do you think one-sided love counts as love? She thought for a moment. No, it doesn't. Exactly. When we arrived downstairs, before getting out of the car, I said, Lawyer Sue, thank you for your help. You're welcome, she smiled. President Koo, I actually admire you. Why? Not many people can let go so decisively. That's because it wasn't worth holding on to. She nodded. President Koo, if you don't mind, could we be friends? I was slightly surprised. Of course. May I have your contact details? Sure. We exchanged numbers. President Koo, she said shyly, I think you're a really good person. Thank you. A man like you will definitely find someone better. I smiled. Thank you for the blessing. After Tiffany left, I returned to my office. The secretary informed me, President Koo, the chairman wants to see you. I went to his office. Henry, sit, the chairman said, gesturing. I heard you got divorced. Yes. You handled Miranda's situation well. Thank you, Chairman. The company is not a charity, he continued. It cannot tolerate people who corrupt its environment. I understand. Now that you're single, you can focus more on your work, he said with a smile. I'm planning to transfer you to headquarters. Headquarters. I was surprised. Yes. As vice president. It was completely unexpected. Thank you for your trust. You've earned it, the chairman said, patting my shoulder. Young man, your future is limitless. Leaving his office, I felt exceptionally light. The divorce hadn't harmed my career. If anything, it had opened a better path. That evening, Mason invited me to dinner to celebrate. Henry, congratulations on your new life, he said, raising his glass. Thank you. How do you feel now? I've never felt this light. That's how it should be, Mason said. Henry, I always wanted to tell you, Miranda never deserved you. Why do you say that? She was too selfish. She only wanted what you could give her, never your heart. It doesn't matter anymore. Right. It's all in the past. Mason suddenly smiled mysteriously. Henry, I want to introduce you to someone. Who? A really nice girl, my classmate's sister. She works at a bank. No need, I said. I don't want to date right now. Why? I want to enjoy being single. That's fair, Mason nodded. You're still young. No rush. Just then my phone rang. It was Tiffany. President Koo, sorry to bother you. It's fine. What's up? I have a few legal questions I'd like to ask you. I'm not a legal expert. It's about a business contract. I'm sure you know more than I do. Well, why don't we find a time to talk it through properly? That would be great. When are you free? How about tomorrow night? Okay. Let's pick a place. Sounds good. After hanging up, Mason grinned. That was fast. A woman's already calling you. It's not what you think, I said. She's a lawyer. We have business to discuss. A lawyer? Mason's eyes lit up. The one who handled your divorce. Yes. Is she pretty? She's all right. Henry, Mason said seriously, I think this is a good opportunity. What opportunity? To pursue her. You just got divorced. You need a fresh start. Stop talking nonsense. She's here for business. Business that could turn into something more. I shook my head and chose not to respond. But if I was being honest with myself, Tiffany had left a good impression on me. She was professional, rational, and principled, completely different from Miranda. Maybe this really was the beginning of something new. Chapter 9. The following evening, I met Tiffany at a quiet cafe. She was wearing a white blouse and a black skirt, looking intellectual and elegant. President Koo, thank you for taking the time to meet with me. It's my pleasure, I said as I sat down. What legal issue do you need my help with? Well, she hesitated, clearly a little embarrassed. Actually, it's not a legal issue. Then what is it? I'd like to treat you to a meal. I wanted to thank you for trusting me with your divorce case. I was momentarily taken aback, then smiled. So that's what this is. You don't mind, do you? Of course not. We talked about many things: work, life, interests, ideals. Tiffany was genuinely interesting, humorous, thoughtful, and insightful. President Koo, she suddenly asked, do you still miss Miranda? No, I answered without hesitation. Not even a little. Not at all. Why? Because she's not worth it. Tiffany nodded. I think you're a very rational person. Sometimes rationality is forced. What do you mean? If you stay emotional, the only person who gets hurt is yourself. She nodded, clearly thinking about it. Lawyer Sue, I said, changing the subject. Why did you choose to become a lawyer? Because I believe in fairness and justice. Do you think my divorce with Miranda was fair? Very fair, she said firmly. The one who made the mistake should bear the consequences. What would you do if your boyfriend betrayed you someday? I'd leave him, she replied instantly. Betrayal is betrayal. There are no excuses. I looked at her with genuine admiration. Our views are very similar. Yes, she said with a smile. President Koo, I actually think we're a good match. A good match for what? To be friends. She blushed slightly. I smiled. I think so too. By the time we left the cafe, it was already late. I drove her home, and when we reached downstairs, she suddenly spoke again. President Koo, if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you something personal. Go ahead. Do you have feelings for me? I was surprised by her directness, but I answered honestly. Yes. A flicker of joy flashed in her eyes. Then, can we try dating? Are you sure? I looked at her seriously. I just got divorced. I might need time. I'm not in a hurry, she said softly. I can wait. Why? Because I think you're worth it. At that moment, a warmth I hadn't felt in a long time quietly filled my chest. Tiffany, I said as I took her hand, thank you. Thank me for what? For making me believe there are still sincere people in this world. She smiled sweetly. President Koo, shall we start as friends? Okay. That night, I slept better than I had in years. In my dreams, there were no accusations, no betrayal, no pain, only Tiffany's gentle smile. The next morning, I woke up to a message from her. Good morning, President Koo. Wishing you a successful day at work. Such a simple message, yet it made me feel unexpectedly happy. I replied, Good morning, Lawyer Sue. From that day on, we messaged each other daily and occasionally shared meals. Tiffany always respected boundaries, never rushed me, never pressured me, never demanded promises. She was like a spring breeze, quietly entering my life and slowly healing my heart. 3 months later, we officially became a couple. Half a year after that, I proposed. Tiffany cried as she said yes, and in that moment, I knew. I had finally found the person who truly belonged to me. Compared to her, Miranda had merely been a mistake along my life's path. Tiffany, however, was my future. Our wedding was simple, attended only by close friends. At the ceremony, Mason raised his glass and said, Henry, you finally found someone who truly loves you. Yes, I had. Tiffany would never betray me, never hurt me, never treat me as a fallback option. She loved me for who I was, not for what I could give her. This was what real love looked like. Chapter 10. 1 year after we got married, we welcomed our child. During Tiffany's pregnancy, I cooked for her every day, walked with her in the evenings, and listened as she talked about her work. The feeling of being needed and cherished was something I had never experienced with Miranda. One day, Tiffany suddenly asked, Hubby, do you ever think about Miranda? No, I answered honestly. She's completely in the past. Not even a little. Not at all. I gently rested my hand on her belly. All my attention is on you and the baby now. She smiled, satisfied. After our child was born, I finally understood what the warmth of home truly meant. Every day after work, walking in to see Tiffany's gentle smile and our baby's innocent face, I felt like the happiest man alive. One day, Mason came to visit. Henry, you really look happy now. I am. Do you remember how you cried over Miranda 2 years ago? I do, I laughed. I was so foolish back then. It wasn't foolish, Mason said. You were just too kind. You treated her like a treasure, and she treated you like a fool. Let the past stay in the past, I said, glancing toward the kitchen where Tiffany was busy. I just want to cherish what I have now. That's what matters most. That night, Tiffany asked quietly, Hubby, what if Miranda comes back one day? What would you do? I wouldn't meet her, I answered without hesitation. Someone like her doesn't belong in my life anymore. Wouldn't you feel soft-hearted? No. I pulled her into my arms. I have you and our child now. Why would I look back? She pouted slightly. I just wanted to be sure. After all, you were together for 3 years. That wasn't love, I corrected gently. That was unrequited. Then what is love? She asked. Love is what we have, I said. Mutual respect, mutual cherishing, mutual trust. She smiled. I think we're really happy too. 5 years later, I became the CEO of the group. Tiffany became a respected, well-known lawyer. Our child grew up healthy and joyful, and our bond only deepened with time. Sometimes I think, if I hadn't gone through that painful marriage with Miranda, I might not treasure the happiness I have now. So in a way, I thank her. I thank her betrayal, because it taught me what real love is, and who truly deserves to be cherished. As for how Miranda is doing now, I don't know. And I don't care. What I do know is this. My life truly began the day I met Tiffany. The Henry who once despaired because of Miranda no longer exists. The man I am now knows how to love and be loved. He is worthy of being cherished. And he is truly happy.